Thinking about booking an Oceania cruise? We've sailed them multiple times, and after our latest trip, we realized half of what you told you before is now wrong. New policies, new perks, and a few things that could cost you hundreds if you don't know about them. I'm Leah, Doug's behind the camera, and we are Go Travel Life. Thanks for joining, and we're looking forward to getting you updated with our 2026 version of Oceania Tips and Tricks. But first of all, what does Oceania include in 2026? Specialty restaurants are still no fee. You're still assigned some of them based upon your room selection. Gratuities, so as after January 1st of 2025, gratuities are now included. They also include Starlink basic Wi-Fi, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on that in the extras, but you get a device for guests 1 and 2. Sodas, specialty coffees and teas, juices, smoothies, gourmet ice cream, including that world-famous Humphrey Slocum, Vero water, plus a reusable bottled water like this. And by the way, I bring my Dawn dish detergent to keep it clean. And there are filling stations all around the ship, but they also have canned water that's included, and a self-service laundry. Okay, with that said, now let's look at the booking choices that really change your experience. So this is the current lineup of Oceania ships. There's another new one on the way in Sonata. But if you are booking on one of the bottom ships, those R-class ships along the bottom, they have very small bathrooms. I only want to call this out because if you have mobility issues, you're claustrophobic, that it's a challenge to get in and out of a tiny place like that, you might want to consider one of the other ships, or make sure that you book a penthouse suite on that older ship. So as of February 2026, the program is called Your World Included. You get to choose either wine and beer by the glass during lunch and dinner hours, or a shore excursion credit with your booking now. Sometimes they'll offer both, so just make sure you're working with your TripAdvisor, because if you get lucky and get them both, that is a great deal. Sometimes they will offer a larger ShoreX credit or even a prestige package on certain cruises. I'm going to dive into the drink rules later in the video. Next, room type matters, especially for specialty dining, which Oceania is known for their fabulous food. They have fabulous restaurants on board, and they do not charge for these restaurants at this time. But you'll be assigned how many times in which restaurants you get to dine in at booking based upon your room type. The catch, though, is also when you get to make those reservations is dependent upon your room type. So if I'm in one of the biggest suites, I may get to reserve my dining 150 days before my sailing. If I'm in the entry-level room, it's more likely going to be closer to 45 days. So if it's important to you to get the times, tables for two, whatever, you might want to consider looking at the room type you book. Also, there's not a huge difference between a balcony and a balcony concierge, and I just wanted to call this one out because the concierge room can get you a basket of benefits that are really nice, including access to the concierge lounge if your ship has it, that has coffees, sodas, waters. There's even a toaster in there, which was really nice because Doug would bring me peanut butter toast in the morning. They have some snacks in the afternoon, and there's a concierge desk can help you with reservations and that sorts of thing. You also get access to the Aquamar Spa Terrace at the front of the ship that has a beautiful thalassotherapy pool and deck. You get 3 bags of laundry. They'll press 4 items for you. And then your specialty dining reservations are 60 days in advance. So it's a little bit more of an advantage over the people in the entry-level rooms. So one other great benefit of the concierge room is you can actually order lunch and dinner from the main dining room to be served in your room. If you book a penthouse suite, so one more step up, which is a full suite, you can get specialty restaurant meals delivered to your room. We did this on Regatta. It was fabulous. So maybe those reservations don't matter so much if you book a higher level room. So now you've got your itinerary, the ship, room booked. What are the things that you really need to do before you board? So first, Norwegian NCL Regent Oceania status match, or honoring as they call it. If you have higher level status with NCL or with Regent, you're going to want to take the time to do a status match to Oceania, as it will get you the additional benefits. I did a whole separate video on this here that outlines not only the requirements, but the process, and I even built the form for you that you can click and it'll pull it right into an email. To be clear, Oceania's not fast about this. They commit to getting it done no less than 10 days before you sail. Ours was done 10 days before we sailed, but other people have had better luck getting them done sooner. But a couple of the benefits that we got, because we're Sapphire and NCL, we ended up with $400 in additional onboard credit. We each got $150 spa credit, so it's really nice if you've got status, take the time. Second, make sure that you've maximized all the onboard credit or OBC that you can get. Some of them, such as American Express Travel, if you're working with them for the Cruise Privileges program, has to be done at booking, but that's an additional $300 in onboard credit. Plus, if it's one of the times where they're offering the wine tasting, we had a wonderful wine tasting here on the Vista. We got to taste 6 different kinds of wines, had a great class by the sommelier, and we got to pick out a bottle of wine that was delivered to our room later. So these are really nice benefits you don't want to miss out on. As well as, like, if you're a shareholder, just make sure you're checking out for all the onboard credit. And your travel advisor should be able to help you here too as well. Next up, cooking classes. Oceania is big with these. They started this with the Marina. She had, I believe, the first kitchen at sea. But if you want to attend these classes, they fill up. As of February 2026, they're now $129 per person. You can book them in advance. It is not dependent upon your room type. The only issue is there's not a set time when they get posted. 6 months can be up 6 months in advance, and some people say they didn't see them until 120 days before their cruise. So once you get your cruise booked, I would go in to manage my booking and make sure you're checking periodically if that is something that you want to do. There's really only 18 to 24 students that can attend based on the class type. And one note, if you do get into one of these, you need to bring closed-toed shoes. You have to have closed-toed shoes to go to the class. All right, shore excursions. This is a big one. If you opted, whether you opted for the shore excursion credit with Your World, or you just have shore excursion credit, if you have a cruise that has more than 7 port days, there's usually an offer called Shore Excursion Discounts Your World, and they will give you 25% off if you book a certain number of shore excursions with Oceania, which that's a nice discount. Now, the number of whether you have to have 5 excursions or 6 is dependent upon your cruise, how many port days you have, and the length. So that's not something I can tell you. What I do know is that when you log in to manage your booking and you start looking at excursions, you will see what is available to you, whether it's 5 or 6. Now, one thing we learned, Oceania's links and website will tell you you have to have all that booked 2 weeks before your cruise. And honestly, that's a smart idea, especially if you have specific shore excursions that you wish to attend and you don't want to mess around with that being full, get that done. But when you board, there is an order form in your shore excursion book that also offers you the 25% discount. And for ours in particular, as this was a 2-week cruise, we have to have 5. But the catch is you have to order them all the first day, and they're non-refundable, non-cancelable. So make sure this is what you want to do. We have had a couple different situations, not with our particular shore excursions, but the policies are very strict. Your cancellation window will be on your ticket that are in your room. Don't miss that. If you're not feeling well and you don't want to go, you've got to have a doctor's note from the medical facility on board. So just being open with you, they're very strict. You can also get yourself waitlisted. If you waitlist in advance, we did not get a confirmation when we got checked into our room that we were waitlisted, but someone else waiting at the desk in front of us forgot that they were waitlisted or they had signed up for the waitlist months ago. If they put you on the excursion and they've done it inside the cancellation window, you can't cancel and you will get billed for that. So there was a bit of drama on that. So I'm just make sure you know the policies. If you want to waitlist for something, you might want to do that once you board the ship and have confirmation from them when the cancel deadline is, so you can, if you opt to put together something else, you've got the freedom to do so. All right, on to the fun stuff, drinks. So if you chose the House Select package that comes with Your World, Your Way, you are given wine and beer by the glass during lunch and dinner hours is what it says. And I wanted to give you some specifics on this because I found it to be a little confusing. So this is the list of the by the glass wine. So if you are in a restaurant having lunch or a restaurant having dinner, as long as that restaurant is open, you can continue to have by the glass wine and beer. The current hours for Vista lunch, just as an example, Aquamar opens at 11, and then the latest place open is Waves at 4. So pretty much anywhere between 11 and 4, there's a restaurant open where you can get a glass of wine. One of the little gotchas, if you don't want to go get another glass of wine from a restaurant, you want to go to a bar, is the bars are only available to order by the glass between noon and 1:30 for lunch, or 6:30 to 8:30 for dinner hours. So you can go to those bars specifically and get something if you don't want to go sit down in a restaurant. They just, I don't know, I think they've just made it a little more difficult to use, I think. There are no cocktails at all included in this package. It's just wine and beer by the glass. We also found the servers were pretty friendly, though. If it was, a half hour before closing and you wanted to get one before you went to the show, they would come and offer you a top up. So they're pretty good about that. But what that means is between the hours of 4 p.m. and 6:30, there's no place to get a glass of wine or beer unless you want to pay for it. So that's your little window where there's not going to be anything open where they're gonna give that to you as part of the package. So next up then is the Prestige package if you want to upgrade to that. If you already have the House Select package, they will offer that to you for $39.99 per person per day. And that, buy the wine glasses are exactly the same and beer exactly the same. What you get access to are spirits and cocktails, pretty much. And you get a discount if you want to buy a bottle of wine. Also, if you do not have the base House package, the cost to upgrade to Prestige becomes $79.99 per person per day, which was way too much for our taste. Premium spirits and sake are not included in any of it. So even if you did this upgrade, you're not getting that. So you will need to look at the pricing of the cocktails that you would typically drink, and will you use that, $40 a day per person? Is that going to be beneficial to you? They now only have one happy hour. So last year they used to have two, and it was short from 5 to 6, and there was a later one. Now they just have the later one from 9 to 10:30. It's every night, and it's 2 for 1. But the great news is it's in all the bars. So you can go to any of the bars for this happy hour and do their 2 for 1 pricing. So they've just changed it up a little bit. But the bottom line is you're basically not going to have any cocktails unless you have the Prestige package that you're going to pay something for it. All right, so where can I get free drinks? First of all, the Captain's Welcome. So they still have free cocktails at those. This was held from 5:30 to 7. But what was really nice is Captain actually opened up Founders, Grand Lounge, and Martinis to free cocktails at the same time. So the whole ship did not have to pack into Horizon. So you couldn't get top shelf stuff, but you could get just general cocktails with no problem. We did have loyalty private cocktail parties as well. So based upon your status and level, you'll get invited to these. We're just bronze right now. So we were invited to the free-for-all that started at 5:45. We got there at 5:45 and the party was well in swing. So if you get invited to one of these, show up 15 to 20 minutes earlier if you want to get a seat. They will be walking around with wines and champagne, but you can simply just ask them for whatever cocktail you want. Again, not premium, but those are nice events, and you'll have free cocktails for an hour or so. If you have an American Express Platinum card and you've booked using the Cruise Privileges program, make sure you're watching if yours has the wine tasting involved. That was done very well. We got to taste 6 wines. It was fabulous, plus got a free bottle of wine. Remember with Oceania, though, you can bring wine on board. The documentation says 6 bottles, but we know that if you're on a longer cruise, they're a little more lenient about that. You can also bring a bottle or 2 or whatever, I think up to 6 in from port if you're, you find something that you like while you're in port. If you take it out of your room, there's a $25 corkage fee currently, but otherwise, they don't care what you bring. There was another drink special during the Blue Horizon party, which I'll explain in a minute. But basically, they extended the happy hour from 8:30 to 10:30 that night, and they had basically blue alcoholic drinks. So if that's something you're interested in. Now, the other thing is there are many, we'll post a picture of it here, but there are many wine and spirits offerings throughout our cruise. This is becoming what appears to be a specialty for Oceania. So just about every day there was some type of tasting, some experience that you could have. The only 2 that are not listed on this form here are Polo Grill They had private dining offerings. It's not a bad price at $95 per person, which included a classic pairing, or you could go for the up level, that wine that was $140 per person. And if you really wanted to go fancy pants, Dom Perignon event was just a measly $395 per person, should you so choose to do that. Okay, now on to food, Oceania's specialty. We mentioned specialty dining reservations are assigned based on your room type. So you'll, as part of your booking document, you will have which restaurants you get a reservation in and how many, as well as there will be a date there. And that date is the date that reservations are open to you. Note that those reservations open at midnight Miami time. So yes, we were up at midnight to get our reservations because we wanted a couple of reservations. We wanted tables for two, and at 7 earlier in the evening. Those are very popular times. All right, so some other good to know stuff on food. There's no app, but if you want to know what's for lunch, what's for dinner, usually that is posted to the TV by 10 a.m. or you can walk down to the restaurant and they will have it posted as soon as breakfast closes. They'll post the lunch menu. As soon as lunch closes, they'll post the dinner menu. So kind of a pain not to have an app, but you can find it on your TV, and that's nice that they do that. One menu item that is not out there, you can see the Waves Grill general menu, but they have a special every day that usually they were had available about noontime, so it wasn't necessarily right when they opened, but it was special. It was paella, it was kebabs, fish kebabs with a beautiful veggie rice. I mean, they did all kinds of different things. So we always poked our head into Waves really quick to see what they had first before we made our lunch food decision, which, as you know, is a very important one. We talked about Taste of the World on Regatta on our last tips and tricks video, which this was one of our favorites. So in the main dining room for lunch, they have a section of the menu called Taste of the World. And it was a different country, basically, every day where they had little tidbits, right? We are not seeing that on Vista, but what they do on Vista on C days in the main dining room is they would have an insert with a special dining option, usually themed of some sort, which here's a sample of one that was our first week on board. So if you like interesting, specials like that, just make sure you're taking a look for that. Tea is served every day. That has not changed. The times 3:30 to 4:30 on Horizons for our particular trip. It's all white glove. It's done with a rollable cart. The strings are up there playing. It's very nicely done. So make sure if you are a tea person, this is whether it was a port day or a sea day. If you want afternoon tea, it's available to you. We mentioned the Humphrey Slocum ice cream, so I just want to highlight it. This is special, and the flavors and things are fabulous. So take the time if you're an ice cream person to go check that out. I've always asked the question, is there a food wasteland? Are there times on the ship when there's not food available? Honestly, I couldn't find a window. Not on this one. Baristas pretty much has that bakery back there where they've got croissants and just beautiful muffins and stuff in the morning. They switch to some more savory things in the afternoon. They close at 6 and become more about cocktails after that. But there's like a 30-minute window where you can't just walk to something. You have room service 24 hours a day. So you're going to be just fine with food on this cruise. Watch for brunch. Brunch is offered from 9:30 to 1. It is not very often, so you need to watch your currents for it. They go all out on brunch on Oceania. The middle part of the main dining room is just transformed into this beautiful, whether it's desserts, pasta stations, it's just really, really well done. So if you're a brunch person, make sure that you keep an eye out for that and make any adjustments to your schedule. And lastly, this is really nice. We're still not seeing any upcharges on specialty dining menus or what have you. So that's really nice. I know we've had a lot of other lines that are doing that these days. Almost done here. So let's talk about entertainment and things to do. So the shows are starting at 9:15 on the Vista these days. There's only one show per evening, but I do want to call out, since I said that, tonight, just weird coincidence, after 11 days of cruising, they have an early show, but it's not the same show as the late show. They're sliding in an entertainer at 5:30. It's different than the late show. So we plan on checking it out, but we actually think it's a really nice option because sometimes you'd rather go to the early show, have your dinner and be done with it. But right now, the regular production shows and that type of thing are at 9:15. couple of different live bands on board, and they're fabulous. Just keep an eye out for, who becomes your favorite. 7:30 to 8 is typically, up in Horizons. There's a pianist that plays in Martinis. The strings are playing, they play during tea time. They have played during brunch. They play in the Grand Lounge. I mean, so any kind of music that you like, you can pretty much, take a look at the schedule and find something. O points. We talked. So if you don't know what O points are, basically they're tickets or points that you earn when you play kind of competitive games, or some games you just show up and they'll give you some. So whether it's Bago, they had golf potting contests, trivia is a big one, and get on a team if you're a trivia person because they earn lots of O points. Don't sleep on the art scavenger hunt. Yeah, it looks kind of intimidating because there's like 50 things you got to find. But the cool thing, especially if you have, a few sea days, it's a great way to really see every little nook and cranny of this ship. And it isn't just about the artwork on the wall. It could be a ceiling. It could be a piece of fabric. Could be anything. So those get a good amount of O points. You save up your O points, and then towards the end of your cruise, there will be a store set up with Oceania branded merchandise. And we've gotten some nice things with this in the past, sun shirts and things like that. So keep an eye out for those. They're marked in the currents as little O points activities. So just watch those, participate, and you'll have plenty by the time you're done. Blue Horizon Party, I briefly mentioned, is having a happy hour. So this is their Wear Blue night. It's basically just a big dance party. So there's a live band, they bring out blue drinks and that type of thing, kind of create their signature event. I know that when we were on Regatta, they were not offering it yet, but they were trying to bring that event to the smaller ships too. So you may or may not have one. Just bring something blue just in case. And then one other fun event that we had on Regatta, because it was specifically, we had a lot of sea days, is there was a Trans-Pacific, but the bigger ships will have them from time to time too if you happen to have some sea days, is the Country Fair. And this is a lot of fun. It isn't very long. It's like 45 minutes to an hour. Every department comes up with like a fair type game that you can play. You earn either raffle tickets, you can win things at the end of the event where they do drawings and things like that. It's just great fun. So if you like things like that, just keep an eye out for it. Okay, laundry. If you're traveling for a long time, you know how important this is. So great news on the Vista, right? They have 3 washers and 3 dryers on floors 7 through 11. So yay, we have now 15 washers and 15 dryers on board. Yes, there are more people, but we did the math for you. So for when the ship is full, which ours is right now, that's basically there's a washer and dryer set for every 80 people to share. Mind you, many of those folks have free bags of laundry, or if they're in suites, their laundry's included. So you have a lot of people that don't have to do laundry. So it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. Regatta was a little bit more laundry wars because there's only 4 washers and 4 dryers on those ships for 680 people. So it was 170 people per set. Are we geeks or what? Okay, there's an ironing board in each, of course. Now, I want to call out the concierge benefits if you opted to do a room. For laundry specifically, you get 3 bags. Each bag can handle 20 pieces, although they don't seem to count like socks and underwear too much. So that was not a big deal if we had extra stuff in there. They do ask you to give them 3 days turnaround, although during the cruise itself, we're seeing it come back at 2. The biggest limitation is you can't send anything in the last 3 days of the cruise. So we'll have to send in everything today, and that'll be the last time we can do that. So I would also say comparative to like Holland and Azamara laundry, it's not coming back quite as pressed, or like if I ask for something to be hung up or whatever, it's not. So it's just laundry, wash, fold, that's it. And you have an iron you can get to if you need to fix something up. Then the specials that they offered for our 14-day cruise was 20 pieces for $24.95, which I think is pretty standard for Oceania these days. Okay, last up is just our little extra section, and then we're done. On our first tips and tricks video, we talked, because we were on Regatta, we talked about how small the elevators were. They were very European, much better elevators on the bigger ships, of course. So I'm just going to call that out. I do want to mention fitness classes specifically. When we boarded the Regatta, at the time, they allowed you to sign up for the entire length of the cruise, whatever classes you wanted. And I believe they're all moving to the 24 hours before. So if you go to the gym on the first day, they have great classes. There's yoga, Pilates, stretch, HIIT, cycle, and abs classes that I've seen so far. Get the full schedule, determine what you want to sign up for, and make sure you know whenever the day's classes were done. So whenever the instructor taught the last class that he was going to teach that day, whether it was 10 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon, then he put out the following day classes so you could get signed up. Why is this important? The Vista classroom upstairs is really small. It's half the size of the space that was available on Regatta. So there's really only room for, I would say, 6 people for either a yoga or a Pilates class. And there's 1,200 people on board. So we've all kind of gone into a rhythm now. Some people do the morning, some people do the afternoon. But just if that is something that's important to you, kind of know how the process works. Get the schedule and decide how you want to handle your time. Keep the day one of the Current magazine. Not only does this have like your schedule and specifics about, you know, ports and docking and all that, but it also has all the crew. And I think that's important if you've either got an issue you want to deal with or you want to know who's who in the zoo. The other one that we keep is the shore excursion guide for a couple of reasons. One, this is probably, Oceania does an amazing job being so specific about what to expect on your excursion. It's not printed on your ticket when you get here, and unless you are super maniacal about printing all this stuff out at home and bringing it with you, this has everything you need to know. So you can double check, what did I sign up for? Do I need to bring a lunch? But a lot of it is, how many stairs am I climbing? Is it steep hills? Do I need to wear closed-toed shoes because it's gravel area? I mean, there's so much detail in here. And then they'll tell you exactly, you're going to spend 1 hour and 30 minutes on a bus ride. We are going to make one stop for a restroom. We are going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So it is crystal clear what you can expect through your day. Take it seriously. We went on a excursion out into the rainforest, and they said there's going to be 60 steps. You're going up, you're going down. Person fell, like, unfortunately. So, you know, if you have to know your limitations, and they give you every ability to look at the excursions and decide whether that's something you want to do or not. The cliff divers in Acapulco was like 70 steps down, but you got to come right back up if you want to see all the entertainment. So it was not an easy excursion, period. So make sure you're paying attention to that. I want to spend just a couple minutes on the internet, because there's the Wi-Fi, the basic Starlink. Everybody's advertising they have Starlink. But I'm just going to be honest here. The subscription that Oceania has for this class and Regatta, they're just too small. So for the number of people, it gets saturated really quickly, especially on sea days or right after, everybody gets back from port and before dinner. It's just saturated. So if you have things that you need to do, you may need to upgrade to the streaming package. It was $15 per day per device. And if you upgraded that one device to the streaming, you also had the basic one you could use. So I could basically have my laptop and my phone logged in at the same time. One was streaming, one was not. That's helpful information to know. But the only thing that the additional package gets you is them opening up the streaming ports. It doesn't get you any faster speeds. Yes, we've met with IT. We've talked to them about this. So if you're a person that you've got to do, Zoom calls and things like that, you might want to plan accordingly and time things to where maybe it's during a port day or something where there's going to be a lot less people on board. I do hope this is something that Oceania is listening to, and that they will have an option that is a little more open to be able to get to the apps and speeds that you need to get certain things at work done. One other thing, because we've mentioned they don't have an app, Oceania will put the schedule, the current schedule on the TV, which I like to, highlight that so you can look at it, as well as menus as we've mentioned, but they will also put recordings of the enrichment speakers out there as long as they're allowed to, licensing or whatever. So they'll put those out there. We also had them post the future cruise presentations. So just know if you can't, because sometimes, there's so many things going on the ship, you can't make it to everything that you want to, you might be able to rewatch that on your TV afterward. And then lastly, we really enjoy watching the daily shows. Maybe we're just geeks at heart, but the cruise director and assistant would have a show that you could pop on first thing in the morning. And not only do they kind of just help you, here's what we're doing, here's what's going on, but they also will share other happenings around the ship. I mean, they were talking yesterday, there's kind of a bug running around the ship and people are coughing and all that. So they just kind of share reminders about, hand washing, that type of thing. But then he also highlighted a really cool service that the spa was offering. So just if you are into that kind of thing, pop that on in the morning when you get up. I hope this is helpful to you. We spend a lot of time putting these together and looking for all the deep detail. I really appreciate the fact that everybody helps each other out. So if we've missed something, if you like have a tip on the big suites that we don't reserve, please take a moment to put it out there for people so they can understand that benefit or something that we have missed. We're a very small channel. I was actually jokingly look at our ranking. We're in like the 5 millions on YouTube. So if this stuff is helping you, we'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel and hitting notifications, because otherwise you're probably not going to see our stuff. But we appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks for watching.